Hi there, everybody. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. Derek Clark's our guest. Derek is the executive director of the Broadway Theater League of Utica. He's been in that job since 2016, if I recall my history correctly.
February 2016.
Yeah.
Or March 1st officially. But.
Yeah. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff with Derek today, including the upcoming Broadway Theater League season, which is jam-packed with stuff, and other things about Broadway Theater League. But first, we want to welcome Derek to the show. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is it my imagination? Maybe it's just because there's so many shows that are upcoming that I like this season. Boy, this just seems to be jam-packed.
It's going to be a busy season. This is our biggest season. Busiest in the sense that we have 10 consecutive shows. And we actually have 3 shows that are from the last week in November through the third week of December. So we'll hit Rudolph and then Jersey Boys and Fiddler all within a 3-week span. So it's going to be a busy season. We're looking forward to it, but it's going to be exciting as well.
You mentioned Jersey Boys. I saw Jersey Boys at the Stanley when it was here a couple of years ago, was it?
That would have been 2015.
Okay.
Yes.
It was a fantastic show. They did 2 performances, as I recall.
They actually did more. I believe they did 4 or 5. I'm trying to remember, but yeah, there were quite a few performances.
Boy, they drew.
They did. They all over, Central New York. They were, I believe, reteching the show at that point. If my memory serves me correctly, I wasn't here for it, but it was right before I came. And our show this time is for one night only. Just to pack the house and create some excitement, and also to give them their final bow.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough ticket. I predict that. I don't make many predictions, but that's the one's going to be a tough ticket, I think.
Yes, it's on sale now.
Did you refer to that as a tech show?
It was originally. It's not for us this time around. It's just it's a one night, a single show.
It's a touring show.
It's the touring show. It's one night, and it's their final time on the road.
The difference between a touring show like Jersey Boys that is coming, we'll get some of these dates out here in a little bit, and a tech show. What's the difference?
With the tech show, they actually we have different levels of tech. Some of the tech shows are full tech right off Broadway, and that requires it may have a majority of the cast may be recasted. Some of it could be the Broadway cast actually moving over and and going on to the touring version. It could be moving sets from New York City to Utica to get those sets ready, or to be in a position where they can be erected and taken down in shorter amounts of time. For example, if you look at Hello Dolly, that's a perfect example. Last year, August 26th, Bette Midler closed Hello Dolly on Broadway. And that night, after she exited the stage, they began to dismantle Hello Dolly to have Hello Dolly here in Utica on August 28th, 2 days later. And that's when we began our tech. So parts of the set were used on the tech for the new traveling version. What you have to remember that this show is traveling all across the country, whereas at the Shubert Theater in New York City, it sat there in one position. Yeah. It didn't go up, it didn't get torn down, so it sat in that position. Now we have to have a set that basically is convertible, that it can fit several different size theaters. We have usually an A production and a B production. A B production would be certain things that are available in the original, but may not possibly work for the stage that they're currently on, wherever they are in that city.
That gives me a good segue to what I was going to ask you. Back before the Stanley got all those improvements, there would be some of these shows we would not have been able to get, correct?
No, a majority of them you would not have been able to have, especially I would say that if we were still in the same situation that we were 10 years ago when the Stanley, before the renovation, we probably would get, out of our current season, we would probably be able to have Rudolph and possibly Jersey Boys. But the majority of the shows we wouldn't have been able to have. The sets are just too big, and there's just so. I mean, now that you think about it, is with our current shows, and I hope that people have been able to see an improvement in the shows, or at least the quality of the productions, because that's what I'm trying to achieve. Those shows require more technical guidance. They require more maneuverability. There's more moving parts. And when the Stanley 10 years ago, before the renovation, they used to actually bring the sets, drop them in with a crane through the ceiling, or at least close
King
to the
Street,
ceiling.
right?
Yes, and if you look, if you're ever backstage and you look at the cylinder blocks that the wall of the back wall of the Stanley is made out of, you'll see up at the top where the sets used to come in.
Yeah.
It's still very visible.
I was there once years ago, and I can't remember. I wish I could remember what production it was that was coming in here, but they lowered everything from King Street, which is higher, much higher than the stage, and they lowered it down. And I remember a lot of cursing going on. What a job that was.
Well, it was interesting is that my producer for Spamalot last year, he had not returned to Utica since the renovation. He vowed he would never come back because of that very reason. So, it took 10 years, and I worked hard to get him to come back, and he brought Spamalot back, and we teched it here last year. And he was telling me all kinds of stories. He remembers the last time he was here. And it wasn't a pleasant experience for him. Right. And now it is. Yeah. And he had a wonderful experience here.
What do they do, Derek, now? They don't have to use King Street at all. You use those big driveways and loading dock doors on Genesee Street, yes?
Yeah, we use part of the renovation was the truck ramps. So the truck ramps were installed. So we can back into the trailers. We can get 4 50-foot trailers into that area at any given time. So most of the shows travel with anywhere from 2 to 5, depending on the size of the show. Usually the tech shows travel with more trailers because we're transporting sets and that kind of thing. At least more sets that are pre-construction, so to say. And so we usually have anywhere from 2 to 5, and whereas we wouldn't have had those before, we wouldn't have had the truck ramp. So now we just lower the trucks into the ramp, pop open the doors, and we have our runners and our local stagehands that help us unload and reload the trucks.
And the same thing we're talking about, what do they call it when you come in? There's a phrase for that, when you come in and when you go out. It escapes my mind right now. But
when you load and unload?
Yeah. But the same thing for unloading. I mean, it's got to be so much easier just to...
Yeah. The load in and the load out is, we have it almost down to a science.
Good. When we come back, let's talk about the upcoming season in a little bit more detail. Derek Clark's our guest. He's the executive director of Broadway Theater League of Utica, which has been around since 1957, I think.
1957, you got it.
Short break, right back.